Thank you for being patient for this video specifically. I dropped a short on this video just to see how the YouTube short and the Instagram reel would go last week. I think I dropped it Friday last week. So I just wanted to drop a more in-depth video because it did get over 1,000 views on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. That's what it was. So I just wanted to see how well it would do and then go more in depth in the video itself. Today is February 18th, 10 years since this camera has dropped, and it's still a beast of a camera, still works very well. But the question is, should you still buy the Canon 80D in 2026, 10 years after the release date? Let's get into it. With this camera, I've shot multiple weddings, wedding films, car shoots, car films, engagement shoots, a lot. I think my shutter count is over probably 100,000. I have to check to be sure. And they keep popping up on Marketplace. Some are super cheap, some are unreasonably expensive for some reason. So you can get them for a pretty good deal. And a lot of beginners have been asking, is it worth it to buy this camera 10 years later? Well, if you're trying to start photography or trying to retire your Rebel camera and not want to spend $3,000 on gear, then probably. But let's get more into who should be buying this and who should really avoid this camera. So who is the Canon 80D perfect for in 2026? This camera is perfect for beginners. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. But if you're coming from a Rebel series camera like I did, I've mentioned this before, the XT and the XTI were my first cameras that I came from. But if you're coming from a T6, the T8i, the 80D is a huge step up. The Rebels are great starter cameras. They get people into photography, but they're smaller, they're more plastic feeling, fewer physical controls, and they're not built for heavy professional use. The 80D, in contrast, is a monster. Has a bigger grip, especially with the battery grip added on. It's enormous. I mean, look at the comparison in size of my hand on the Rebel XT and the Canon 80D. There's better button layout compared to the Rebel cameras, the top LCD screen, a little bit of weather sealing, better autofocus, more direct control without having to dig through the menu, and it's easier to shoot fast with the 80D. And if you started on a Rebel, or even if you started on one of the beginner cameras for Nikon or Sony, the Canon 80D feels like you're leveling up from beginner mode to semi-pro, and it gives you a lot of room to grow without overwhelming you. It's simple enough to use, but powerful enough to take seriously. And this is why I still think it makes sense in 2026. It's affordable, it's reliable, and it's a massive upgrade for anyone stuck on entry-level gear. And honestly, you don't need the newest mirrorless camera to feel like you've leveled up. So all in all, this camera is great for people who are, let's say, budget wedding photographers, or people delivering in 1080p, because in all honesty, the clients sometimes don't care about the quality. Well, they do care about the quality, but they don't care if something's in 4K or 1080p. Most of them don't realize the difference either way. And it's good if you just want a second backup camera too as well. So let's get into who should not buy this camera. If you need 4K video, I'm gonna stop you right there. It's not gonna happen. This camera does not shoot 4K. It doesn't. And in 2026, this is a very big deal for creators. We have a lot of cameras that shoot 6K, a lot of cameras that shoot 4K. So this camera does not do that. Fair warning. And if you're a YouTuber who crops in, reframes, shoots cinematic 4K B-roll, this isn't the tool for that. But like I said before, if you're someone who's delivering in 1080p and your clients don't know the difference between 4K and 1080p, then there's no need to worry about that at all. Another reason is, if you are obsessed with low light performance cameras, I gotta tell you something, buddy. If you want to shoot at 13,000 ISO with no noise at all, I gotta tell you something, buddy. This is not that camera. No. It's a crop sensor from 2016. Think about that for a second. It is not going to compete with your FX3 at all, or your Canon C80 at all, or your Blackmagic Design, camera at all, so don't expect it to do good in low light. I don't know how I haven't messed up severely, like shooting weddings where the situations are just very bad low lighting. I think I have used up all my luck in those situations specifically, because I don't know how I do it. I do get really lucky and the sun's just hitting right every single time, but other than that, I don't know how I do it. You can work around lighting, you can expose properly, but if your style of photography depends on performance in low light settings, you are going to feel the limitation this camera puts you through. It is bad. And to put it like honestly, if you're someone who you chase specs, which I kind of am that person, I just don't have the money to chase specs on cameras right now. But if you're the type of person that does that, you are going to be frustrated with this camera, man. I'm not going to lie. Again, this camera is about results, not numbers. This camera will push you to see how good of a photographer or videographer you are. Because if you have your footage looking good on this camera, not that you're the best photographer ever, but it's very hard in all situations, all round situations, however you say that, I don't know, to get perfect footage. And it's very rare that I get perfect footage, and even then my footage is not perfect. For example, like shooting the YouTube videos on the LCD screen, it looks great. You know, I think I got the lighting, down, which now the sun's randomly coming out, so let me just lower this real quick. I always think that I have the lighting down, I've got everything perfect, dialed in perfectly. But when I put it in post, I'm just sometimes baffled by the footage that comes out, because I swear it looks good. And I have my Field World monitor, and even then on the Field World monitor, it looks great. But in post, I can't tell you, as much as I know this probably doesn't do anything, I cannot tell you how many times I've upscaled my videos to 8K just to perfect it a tiny bit more. So this camera will test you. So yes, if you are comparing the Canon 80D to modern mirrorless cameras, expecting insane autofocus, dynamic range, 10-bit color, 4K 60, you're going to be disappointed because it's not trying to be that. So with all that being said, why do I still use this camera in 2026? Because despite being 10 years old, it gets the job done, honestly. First, Canon's color science. Straight out of the camera, skin tones look good. I mean, look at this. It's pretty good. I don't spend hours trying to fix magenta shifts or weird greens. It just looks natural. I'm not gonna lie, there are times where, trying to say this as humbly as possible, there are times where I take a photo and it's so good that I just, in order to edit it, I'd like lower the exposure, raise it back up to exactly what it was, save the file like that, just so that it doesn't come up as a raw file when I send it to the clients. Reliability. This thing just works. I've traveled with it, shot in the cold. The other day I shot an engagement shoot where the weather said it felt like negative 21 degrees. This thing was perfectly fine. I've shot 15-hour wedding days on just this camera alone. That's photo and video with this camera alone, switching back and forth. This thing has probably been dropped 50 times, still works perfectly fine, just keeps going. The battery life is so solid. I own 5 batteries, 3 here, 2 in the camera. The 2 batteries inside the camera will probably last me 6 hours of shooting. I'm not swapping, batteries every 20 minutes, so yeah, that's a 1+. And the buttons are placed well. I don't have to reach around anywhere to do anything. Especially when shooting weddings, that's very important. You have to be quick. So, and because it's not a perfect camera, it forces me to shoot properly. Is it the newest camera? No. Is it the most powerful camera in 2026? Definitely not. But does it still deliver beautiful results? Yes. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. Now here's the part that might surprise you. I love this camera. It has literally built my business. It has paid my bills, and it's been with me for around 6 years. But I'm outgrowing it. This camera isn't holding beginners back. But at my stage, saying this as humbly as possible. I don't want to sound cocky. It's starting to bottleneck me, basically. When I'm shooting at darker receptions, I feel those low light limitations. When I'm delivering more cinematic video, I feel the lack of 4K. When I want more flexibility in post, I feel the dynamic range just not going to where I want it to go. This camera helped me get here, but it's not the camera that's going to help me get, over there. And as your work evolves, your tools sometimes have to evolve with you. And you can absolutely build a business with this camera like I did. But if you're pushing more into more high-end weddings, more cinematic work, more demanding clients, eventually you're gonna feel the limits of this camera. And I'm not switching because this camera is bad. I'm switching because my needs have changed in terms of what I work with. And it's not about chasing specs either. It's about removing that friction in my workflow. So should you buy the Canon 80D in 2026? Yes, if you're on a budget, serious about learning, and you understand what you're getting. But no, if you're expecting it to compete with mirrorless cameras from nowadays, if you need 4K, crazy low light performance, cutting edge autofocus, this isn't the tool for you. But remember, gear doesn't make you a photographer. Skill does, discipline does, and showing up does. Anyways, if you are shooting on older gear, let me know what you're shooting on. I'm interested in knowing. Drop it in the comments. And if you're trying to grow as a photographer, subscribe. I'm going to start breaking down stuff more, business side of things or projects that I'm working on too as well. I'll see you next week.